Growing a successful business is all about leadership. Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, is the weekly broadcast where you'll learn from successful entrepreneurs and business owners about how to thrive, not just survive, and make more money in any environment. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO. I'm the author of Running Your Small Business Like a Pro and founder of the Small Business Pro University. My co-host, Arthur Jones, is the lead consultant at The Art of Standing Out. Together, we facilitate important conversations with high-performing guest experts who share some of their secrets to success. Leadership Live is brought to you by the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Join us every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. And remember that the more you know, the faster you grow.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05. My name is Andrew Frazier, and I'm here with Casey Carpenter, and we're here for another great night of Talking Small Business. Live at 8:05 is brought to you by the Small Business Pro University. We just had our launch last Thursday evening, which was really great to have celebrated that milestone of moving forward after a couple years of really working to put together a valuable resource for entrepreneurs and business owners. We're going to have an open house this Thursday to introduce you to really what the university is, what's it about, and how it can benefit you.
Do you own your business or does it own you? Is your business growing and are you making enough money? Small Business Pro University, SB Pro U, is the perfect place for busy entrepreneurs. We will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets of creating an enterprise by going from working in your business to working on your business. Attend the SB Pro U virtual open house on October 29th and become a Masterpreneur Club member. Visit sbprou.com and register now.
Now it's time to get started, and I want to introduce our guest for today. Very excited to have her here and working with us. And our guest today is Casey Carpenter, and she is coming to us from Montclair, New Jersey, and very accomplished. Casey's an award-winning executive presentation and leadership consultant. But not only that, she's founder and CEO of Speak and Own It Communications. She's a member of the C-Suite Network. She's on the national board of directors of the National Speakers Association, and she's a sales and business coach for Rising Tide Capital. I've known Casey for quite a few years now. We both coach for Rising Tide Capital. We've collaborated on several different things. She's actually been a Power Breakfast speaker. She's an instructor at the Small Business Pro University. And, really what she does is helps people to be able to communicate better and connect people with better, whether it's for sales, whether it's for presentations, whether it's for being a better leader. And Leadership Live recognizes that if you're a business owner, the key to success is being a good leader. So without good communication skills, it's very difficult to be a good leader. So Casey's going to share some of her expertise this evening. Looking forward to having a great conversation with her. And definitely, as you're tuning in, feel free to type questions in the chat, and we'll work on getting those in. But hey, Casey, how you doing this evening?
I am awesome and so happy to be here and so admiring of all your accomplishments, my friend. I've just watched you take off over the years, and it's fabulous to see, because we both believe so wholeheartedly in supporting small business.
Yes. And, thankfully, we're here and still able to do what we do.
Mhm.
And now it's even more important than ever, given what's going on. Um, so, I take my hats off to all the small business owners that out there. I know some of you are doing okay, but I know a lot of you are being challenged. And, one, we want to encourage you. Two, we're here for you. So if you need to talk to someone, don't hesitate to reach out. I don't just do that as a job. I do that because, you know, this is what I do, and this is my passion and you know, my goal. And same for Casey. Um, so getting started, Casey, I've said a little bit about who you are, but tell us more about who you are and what you're all about, and what you're doing these days.
Okay. I don't know if I've really shared with you who I really am and where I have come from. And it would surprise some of you to know that I consider myself, I coined this phrase that I was born with 4 strikes against me. I was painfully shy. I mean, like, ouchy shy. The kind of shy where when I was a kid, I preferred to engage with books rather than people. And I would always bring my book around with me anytime my parents took me anywhere. So shy, introverted. Some people say, oh, well, that's okay. Doesn't that go away? No. Once an introvert, always an introvert. And what that means is really how you take in and receive energy. So somebody who tends to be more introverted is someone who might have a busy day on Zoom calls right now or networking, but we got to back off of that after a while. We've got to relax. So, also scared. I was really scared to speak up in meetings. I did not build my confidence until I was well into my 30s, and highly sensitive. So, what does that mean? Somebody who's highly sensitive, it can mean a variety of things, but for me, I internalize a lot. So if I'm reading a room, I have to really center myself and say, it's not about you. Everything's okay. Or check in with people. Or, that last comment, did that land okay for you? Because otherwise, I take in way too much and then I get up here in my head. And sometimes being up in somebody's head is not the best place to be. So I had to work very hard. I say that to say I had to work very hard to develop sound business skills, practices, getting my head right for having business conversation. My goodness, when my first job, I didn't even understand business. I was so green. I had to ask my leader. I said, you know what? I really want to take this client out to lunch, but I never did that before. What do I say? And she said, oh, and she was really wonderful. She didn't laugh or anything like that. She said, oh, here's how I do it. I tell them what I want to discuss, and I say, would it be okay if we did that over lunch? And I said, oh, I like that. So over my years of being in business, I have collected this language bank of words. And very often, that's what I find people need help with, be it leading, be it selling, be it having a challenging discussion. They need the words.
Okay.
So
And
I can help them with the what to say and how to say it. That, and once most people have that, it's enough of a position to launch themselves from, and they're okay. But can I tell you that that took me more than 15 years?
yes, no, I mean, everybody has their own journey. And,
Yes.
the good thing is that you've overcome it, and now you're sharing what you've learned. And
Yeah.
that's key, because you learn so many things. Education is great, but it doesn't beat experience. Now, great education with great experience, you can't beat that at all. But, if you're going to have one or the other, experience is usually the most valuable. So no, I take my hats off to you. We had one definite thing in common. I'm still an introvert, and I don't. I still speak a lot. People may not think I used to be very introvert. In high school, I think the only thing I said to anyone who wasn't really a real close friend was answers when I was in class, like, oh, you go, when the teacher calls on you, or
Yeah.
but other than that, it seemed like I wasn't saying that much. It didn't seem like it to me, but everybody else felt that way.
I think it's a great advantage for business because we are really good listeners.
Yes, and just understanding the environment and what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. Really good powers of observation. Instead of coming in and talking, I might hang back and look around and find something interesting to talk about or ask questions.
Right, right. So, you gave a little bit of overview about you, but I want to know a few more things. So, where did you grow up for
Yes,
schooling?
I am from Teaneck, New Jersey.
Okay.
So I was born in New York, actually. I was born at Mount Sinai, spent the first 7 or so years of my life up in Harlem. And I can remember being a little girl, and my daddy had me on his shoulder, and we lived right off the Hudson River.
Mhm.
And we would walk to a park there, and he would say, "See that over there?" And I'd be like, "Mm-hmm." He said, "That's New Jersey." I'm like, "Okay." He says, "I'm going to buy us a home over there." And indeed, I mean, in the mid 60s, that's what a lot of our African American people were doing, leaving New York City and going over to places like Teaneck, which was beautiful, a wonderful community to grow up in. It shaped my whole life in terms of what I value in community. And I wouldn't be surprised if you were that way too, because of your values. Just growing up, I mean, knowing your neighbors, knowing them so well that, if my mom and dad were late coming home from work, somebody would brush my hair. Come here, let me brush your hair, girl. And did you eat? And make sure that I had some. Well, I'm going to give you some dinner. When your mommy gets home, you just tell her you ate here. And did you do your homework? The expression, it takes a village. That's how we grew up. It was beautiful. And it also meant that you had 1,000 eyes watching you to make sure you always did the right thing. Can you relate to that?
Definitely can relate.
Yeah.
My mom was a teacher in the city,
Yeah.
and of course she knew all the other teachers, so I didn't have any choice but to do well in school.
Exactly.
But it even went beyond that, because she was active in the community and everything. So I used to say she had spies spying on me. And every so often, I'd run into someone. Like one day I was downtown on a school day, but
Mm.
we didn't have school that day. And there was some lady, she came up to me and said, "Aren't you so-and-so's son?" I'm like, "Yeah." "I'm gonna tell your mom." And then just walked away.
Oh my gosh, that's it. That's what they did.
So, definitely, it's a little bit different these days for most people, but
Yeah.
definitely can appreciate that.
Yeah, it was good. It was all about love, and everybody's kids were that way. We were all taken care of in that way.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yes, no, definitely. And it was about relationships. I
Yeah,
mean, when you're talking about business is about relationships.
that's right.
So, learning how to build relationships and seeing how positive relationships are at a young age, you may not appreciate it at the time, but it becomes extremely valuable.
They were all up in my business all the time. And they would say, you're only a teenager. You don't have any business. Well, I guess not.
So yeah, that's true. That's true. So okay, so no, definitely that. one other thing is, you've developed your speaking skills and you've spent time doing that. And can you tell me a little bit about how you did that? Because that's something important.
It is important. And I'm glad that you're calling that out, because as business leaders, we've got to be able to express ourselves clearly, concisely, get to the point, and have your speech be crisp, good volume, good diction, all that stuff. And I would say that I got some of it from my parents. My parents were also educators. And yet, some of it I took as a personal responsibility. And once I got into corporate, once I finally figured out how to show some confidence and land a good job that deserved me, once I finally got there, I figured, well, if I'm going to be delivering workshops, seminars, if I'm going to be doing sales pitches, it's a responsibility. And I went to Toastmasters. I was a Toastmaster for more than 10 years. I held all the positions, all that good stuff, and really took it to heart. I really learned and applied the lessons. And for me, it was important to learn to speak with more confidence. I can tell you, when I first went into Toastmasters, I couldn't make eye contact with my audience. I would, and I had my paper. So I would say, "Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and esteemed people." And I would look up at them for a minute because I was so shy. This wasn't that long ago, Andrew.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Shyness doesn't go away. Introversion doesn't go away. I mean, I can wrestle it to the ground when I need to and say, "All right, you guys sit down. Thank you for your help. I got this." But it's always going to be who I am. It's always going to be a part of me.
Right. But no, I mean, that's valuable. I mean, I spent a couple years in Toastmasters when I was in corporate as well. I probably should have spent more time, but I did pick up some valuable things. And I keep saying I'm going back, but it's just sometimes life gets in the way. But very valuable. And one thing I always say in chapter 3 in my book, no, chapter 2 of my book is, what is your most important job? And it's S&M, which not that S&M, but sales and marketing.
Sales and marketing.
And, as a business owner, that's your number one job. That's what you should be doing every day. And because of that, it behooves you to be good at it, because so many business owners do it, but they never learn how to do it, and they're just out there winging it. And learning about selling and marketing is the most valuable thing you can do as a business owner.
Yeah.
So learning how to speak, learning how to communicate, learning how to build relationships. And we're going to be talking more about that. And it doesn't matter if you're shy or not. The question is, do you want to be successful and make money? And if you want to make money more than you want to be shy, then, but, some people prefer to not, so, but you grow into it. But if you're going to be a business person and you're going to have your own business, you're going to have to sell and market if you're going to be successful. And
Absolutely.
why not learn how to do it well, so that you'll be more successful, easier and faster. So one of the things you talked about is learning how to sell when you're afraid to sell. And tell me a little bit about how you do that, because I think most people at some point, and probably continually, have some fear of selling.
Yeah, and that can feel really real. And I think the most important thing you can take away from my journey is to stop making it about you. It's not about you. It's about them. And if you put yourself in the position of service, you will stop thinking about yourself and you'll be much more interested in them and how you can help and how you can serve and learning about them. So because I like to listen, and because this was my worst skill, believe it or not, when I was a young sales representative, my worst skill was asking questions. Why? Because good girls didn't ask questions. You did as you were told. And growing up in a household where I'm an only child and I like to be rewarded for doing things well, if my parents said do this or such and such is happening, I didn't question it or say, oh, why? How come? Tell me more. Never. So I had to adopt the mindset of a successful consultant, a business consultant, and that enabled me to be able to go in and say, oh, okay, let me help assess this situation so I can see how I can help this business owner. And so really valuable thing to do is get it off of you, first of all, because it's really not about you. You're the conduit. You can help make things happen, but it's not a focus on you. And then the best way to do that is to really figure out what you need to know about them so that you can help them the best that you possibly can and listen. Don't do a whole lot of talking. They should be talking more than you. Listen, take your notes, however you need to record that, and then be extremely responsive on the back end. Get back to them quickly so that you'll really distinguish yourself, believe it or not, if you do those few things.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, I really, a couple things that made a huge difference for me. And one was when I was younger, my mom had a lot of interesting books, but one of them was Etiquette by Emily Post.
Interesting.
And it's amazing how useful and helpful it is. And it explains and helps you understand a lot of situations. So,
Yes.
learning about etiquette is very helpful. And, I would recommend that to people. And even more so in terms of what you were just talking about is, whenever I'm working with people, one book I always recommend is Dale Carnegie,
Yep.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because if you follow those simple steps, no matter whether you're an introvert, extrovert, you are able to communicate effectively and interact with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And, as a business person, it's important to be able to do that. And, what he says is, like you said, it's all about them. One thing he has a whole bunch of good stories, but one what sticks out is, he was at a party and, he was hanging out with this gentleman and he was like, the gentleman talked for like 95% of the time.
Yes, yes.
And, later on the guy was like, oh, yeah, Dale, you're such a great conversationalist.
Yes, I love that story.
So
And barely said anything, right?
right.
Yes.
So, that tells you a little bit about, what it takes, how to make it about other people and hearing them.
I could not agree with you more. And I was thinking of that same story. So I'm glad you told that story. Yeah, as we've grown in society, I see ego. It's like ego, like people actually saying, oh, that's nothing. I can top that. And I'm thinking, why are they doing that? There's no need to top anything. Everybody's story has value. And if you are in a business situation, you're going to forge much more friendship and trust if you just listen and let them talk. You never know what you're going to learn. I used to find when I was in sales, for some reason, the decision makers, and I was selling insurance. So this was managed care insurance at a time when this was a new concept. And they would just tell me all kinds of things. They would say, well, I'm really not supposed to be telling you this, but, and it happened over and over. And I was saying, what is it about me that makes that happen? And I said, you know what? I know what it is. I love it. I make people feel safe. And it's, you can get there by listening and being genuinely interested in just being real, being authentic, not with an agenda, but just there to learn more about them and who they are and what their business challenges are. And I'm not here to sell you anything. It's possible I might have a solution for you. So let's explore that. And then that just takes it down. It takes the pressure off. Oh, good. She's not going to try to sell me. Oh, okay. I feel a lot better now. Let's just have a conversation. If it's right for you, then we'll know at the end of the conversation. If it's not, that's okay. I'm really happy to have met you.
Yeah. And either way, you develop a relationship,
Mhm.
you know, and that's more important than making a sale
Oh,
times, because making a sale is transactional.
mhm.
But if you build a relationship, even if you don't make the sale now, you run into the same people
Yeah.
throughout your life.
Yeah.
And if you have a relationship with them, they want, my co-host Art, one of his favorite sayings is KLT, know, like, and trust.
That's it.
From people who they know, like, and trust. And
Yep.
you know, that's what relationships are about, is about
Right.
likability, about trust,
Mhm.
about getting to know each other.
Mhm.
So, it's what you're saying is very important. And especially in this day and age, it's even harder to sell somebody something because everybody can look everything up on the internet.
Yeah.
They can make their own decisions.
Yeah.
So the only thing you can really do is educate them and
Yes.
inform them and listen to them and understand their needs,
Mm,
and work with them to figure out the best solution.
I
And
love that.
so if you don't do that, you're not going to fare very well.
Mm-mm.
um, so taking the time out to learn how to build these relationships, how to communicate, uh, it's one of the most valuable things that you can invest your time in as a business owner. So, and not even just as a business owner. If
Yeah.
you're going to work for somebody, the
Yeah.
people who build relationships are the people who are most successful in all areas of life.
Mhm. 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 Yes. Completely agree.
So, tell me a little bit about strategies for building relationships that you use when you first meet people.
Yeah. Yeah. Good question. Well, I'm a big researcher. And almost to the point where you can never have too much research, so I have to stop at some point. And the way that I use research is LinkedIn, certainly, Google, and a not so well known website called you'vegottthenews.com, which will pull up any local news on a person. So before I meet with someone I don't know, I try to get a sense of them. What am I learning about them through their LinkedIn profile? What are some of the organizations that they support? What are their hobbies? I mean, if you look at mine, you're going to get a really good picture of who I am because I spent a lot of time on that profile. Read their recommendations, the ones that they've received and given. It'll give you some insight into what they value, like for what they're giving the recommendation. And then if someone recommends them, what's some of the outstanding work that they've done. So I usually have questions in my mind when I meet with someone. My old practice when I was, carrying a briefcase, right? I would take a legal pad, and on that left margin there on the very edge, I would write down my 5 must ask questions in every single meeting. And I couldn't leave that meeting until I had gotten answers to each of those questions because they were critical to the outcome of whatever I was there to do. So, what is it that you want to know about this person? What else might be helpful? Certainly, what are their top business challenges right now? I've heard people say, what's keeping you up at night? I say it a little bit differently. Well, what's going on? Yeah, and I cite some of their accomplishments. Yeah, I listen, I got to be honest. I did a little homework on you before today, and you must be so excited that you did da 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 da, that you got this award. Tell me, what was that like for you? You see how I'm putting it on them? It's not about me. What was that experience like for you? And they'll smile and tell me a little bit about it. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, congratulations again. So we're here today to talk about whatever the topic is and then start asking them the questions or get permission to ask. Is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions about that? Just so that we make sure we're both in the right place. Yeah, sure, go ahead. And then I go ahead and go forth with the question. There is no excuse in this day and age for walking into an appointment cold without having done your research. I don't care if you drove your car and you're on your phone and you're looking something up and it's 15 minutes before the appointment. No excuse whatsoever. Now, if you're in back-to-back Zoom calls, then you need to plan. You need to plan your time, maybe over the weekend, so that you have enough time to really let it marinate and think about, all right, if I were in this person's shoes, what would be most concerning to me? And what is it that I can offer that's different from everything else on the market that might be a differential advantage to this person? Start thinking about that from their perspective. And I like those perspective style questions too. So tell me from your perspective, and then you launch your question. So I had to become good at asking questions. Again, that was my toughest skill because it was so underutilized and so underdeveloped. And yet I realized as a consultant, I have to be able to get to the bottom of things so that I could really understand. So let's see, questions, there's research. What else is there? You know what I try to do? This might appeal to some of your listeners, readers, and viewers, as
Mhm.
I try to figure out what their communication style is. Is this somebody who is warm, friendly, that I can engage and we can talk about golf? Is this somebody who's analytical, who's going to appreciate me getting to the point with numbers and facts and figures to back up my argument? Is it someone who is, you got 15 minutes, I got another meeting. You got to get to the point. Okay, great. I'll cut to the chase. Here's an executive summary. If you want to know the rest, it's here. And then we start, we can talk in that way. So I try to figure out before I go in there how this person, what's their style? And then I try to match their style. If I can't figure it out beforehand, you better believe that within the first 5 minutes, I am figuring it out because there's nothing so frustrating as someone who's got a driver personality meeting with someone who wants to take them down the lane and around the mulberry bush and tell a whole story. You're gonna lose their interest. So there's a lot of layers of communication we need to be aware of when we're meeting with someone. And this is in life. It doesn't always have to be when you're selling something or leading someone. It's in life.
Yeah. And I mean, it's 100% right. Over time, you develop those skills better and better if you focus on them and
Yeah.
you understand that you should. One of the things that I'm appreciating more than ever is Myers-Briggs
Oh,
because, and for those of you who don't know what Myers-Briggs is, it's what it is a personality um, methodology
mm-hmm.
that breaks everybody down into one of 16 personalities.
Yeah.
And each personality has 4 letters associated with it that describe the personality. So you've got whether you're an introvert or extrovert, whether you're thinking or judging, whether you learn your sensor or your perceiver.
Yeah, that's it. That's right.
And then the last one is that you are a feeler.
Yes.
And I can't remember what the opposite of a
I think it's feeler and thinker.
okay, thinker. Okay, yeah. Okay. So yeah, you know, those I've been actually doing those with my clients to really help them understand other people on their leadership team, because it's amazing. Like, I can see why there's challenges between certain people.
Yep.
Just because of their personality.
Absolutely.
And you know, a lot of them just keep butting their heads because they just use one style.
Yes.
And you know, understanding how to flex and communicate with people is key, and being flexible. You know, I find, you know, you mentioned that you got to match people. And you know, I'm more of the analytical, short and sweet. You don't have to tell me too much. Yeah, and but I can, you know, flex and communicate in any way people need me to.
Yes.
But you know, some people either aren't willing or don't know. And you know, especially now with the current generation, the newer generations, having grown up so much on technology, the way they receive information and what is appropriate to them is not necessarily appropriate to a lot of other people. You know, I remember one thing that would drive me crazy. I have a couple of rental properties in Pittsburgh. And I have one of my tenants, you know, and I was there. So I was, you know, I called him. I was like, you know, called him and doesn't answer, but I'm there and I see his car's there and I see the lights on.
Yeah.
So I text him and he texts me back in like 1 second. But but he's not, like, to get him to answer the phone and talk to you, just not, and that still drives me crazy.
I don't get it.
You know, but you know, that's the way they communicate. And you know, I flex to be able to do that, but still, you know, if it doesn't, you know, I guess it doesn't strengthen your relationship if you can't show that you can appreciate where other people are coming from.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Well said. Yeah. My last corporate job, the people who eventually came into being in charge of everything, their styles were very different from mine. And I said, well, you better get with the program, Miss Casey, and really be stringent with yourself about how you communicate. And I remember a key meeting that I had one day with one of the leaders, and I went in there buttoned up, bullet points, boom, 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 very logical, very sequential, and able to substantiate all my points. And I knew it was successful when at the end, and again, okay, so I'm inexpressive and she was more reserved. And at the end, she smiled and said, well, she thanked me and she said that this was a very easy to follow layout and she appreciated the time that I had put into it. That was a success for me.
Yes. And you know, of course you have to flex for your bosses, but also your clients, and even more importantly, as a business owner, for your employees.
Oh my goodness.
Because you're the leader. And
yes.
if they take their cues from you.
Ooh.
And so, you know, that's important as well. So Casey, we didn't talk about how did you get into business? How long have you been in business? What were your biggest challenges as a business owner?
Yes, 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 yes. So you may know that I recently rebranded and Speak and Own It Communications, which I'm very excited about. I had the good fortune of launching during the pandemic. I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Talk about never giving up. And I was determined to build this business very strategically. I hired a branding consultant and did SWOT analysis, and I did all this 21-page brand guide. So it's very intentional. And so this business has literally existed since about, I'm going to say the end of February. And then maybe a week or two later, the governor closed down the state of New Jersey. And I, like everybody, I had to figure it out. I thought, well, here's a challenge. If what I do is primarily hands-on, meeting with clients, working with them to improve communication, sometimes I bring in someone to videotape them live. How am I going to do that? And I said, oh my goodness, I can do that using technology, using Zoom. So, obviously with the pandemic, we all had challenges. And some of my biggest challenges were, how do I find business? And figuring out, oh my goodness, it really felt like people were not investing in themselves. Now it's much better. I feel as though there's more energy around wanting to invest, wanting to improve, wanting to bring me in, because I also speak, as you know. So I'm seeing a lot more energy around that in a really good way. Anytime that I network, there's at least one person in that audience who says, I want to connect with you. I want to talk to you about bringing you in. Do you work with leaders? Tell me more about how you work with leaders. So that's been a really refreshing change. But for a while there, it was really dicey. It was really slow. And I did not apply for loans. I just tightened my belt and I just dug deep and I said, I know that I'm resourceful. What is it that I can do? Who do I need to connect with? And I started doing a series of complimentary online presentations to keep my name out there. And you may have been on one or two of those presentations. I would say the biggest one, 300 people registered, which was awesome because they were at home. They were sheltering in place. There was nowhere for anyone to go. So that was a positive impact for being quarantined.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And, I always say that, challenges presents opportunities.
For sure.
So, definitely during the crisis, there's challenges, but if you're careful to look at the trends,
yeah,
and look at your strengths,
yep,
and find where there's opportunities, you can be successful. But that requires being proactive. It's not going to fall in your lap. That requires being flexible. You may have to do things differently than you did before.
Yeah.
And it requires being creative. There's new challenges and there need to be new solutions.
Absolutely.
So, you can't rest on your laurels, but you were confident, you knew you could do that, and you did it. And for all the other business owners out there, it's not too late. So if you're having challenges, you don't want to wallow in your challenges. You don't want to allow that to get you stuck.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to be proactive and move forward and ask for the help. You ask for help from your boss, and that was all the difference in the world. People will help you. It's amazing how many people will help you if you just ask. So, that's important piece of, what you can do to be more successful. And, one of the things that also is, if you can communicate and sell, you can always get a job.
Yes.
You're always going to be okay. Because you have the skills to be able to work in any environment.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
As a business owner, you got to understand that, and always be striving to develop these skills. I mean, you're a professional speaker, but do you still do training and coaching and other stuff on being able to speak more effectively?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And even the best salespeople, they go to sales training, because there's always more things to learn, and there's different types of selling. You can always be better. But that's who you're competing against as a business owner. If you're not doing that and your competition is,
right,
you're putting yourself at a disadvantage.
You're so right. Yeah. Yeah. It takes a little courage to be willing to do it differently, to be willing to get on a Zoom call with someone you don't know, a prospect you don't know, but your competition is. So what's the value that you can offer? You always have to stand in your value. What's the value to them? And if that value is big enough, they'll meet you.
Yep. And it's good that you mentioned value, because at the end of the day, that's what people are looking for.
Yeah.
And you may not initially think that you can add value for people, but you can add value for anybody if you think about it, and if you're thinking about their needs and wants.
Yeah.
And it could be anything from, I try and be as valuable as I can to my network. So if I get an email that seems like it would benefit someone, I'll forward it. If I have an opportunity to do a project and need some help, I'll reach out to people. My clients ask me all kinds of stuff. And, a lot of times with my network, I'm able to find them, one, he needed someone to do hydraulics for his equipment.
Yeah.
And, I got a client who does that. And actually it helped both of them. And, but figuring out what type of value you can add. So, for you, what were some of the experiences that you've had where you sort of were able to add value unexpectedly?
It did happen a lot when I was in sales, I will say, because like you, and I was learning, so I didn't quite realize that how good I was at this. But I would get people calling me up frequently, and you're doing it right when they say things like, yeah, I know you don't do this, or I know this is not your line of business, but do you know anybody who ... And see, you're nodding. That happens to you a lot because they trust you. They trust you. So it did happen to me with one of my big clients right as the pandemic broke. And I had reached out to him, hey, how you doing? Everybody okay? How you making out? And he ended up calling me a few days later and he said, you know, you made me a nice offer, and that was that I could call you if I needed anything. And I was like, of course. What's going on? He said, well, he says, we never even heard of Zoom before 2 weeks ago, and now I've got to do the Zoom webinar. So I walked him through high level what he needed to do in order to have a successful webinar. It meant so much to him because he felt safe coming to me and asking me for help. And if you remember in the very beginning, I remember putting out a video. I recorded it on my front steps. I was talking about use the gallery view because you could see everyone. In the very beginning, that was revolutionary knowledge. Not everybody knew that.
Yeah.
So we've of course come a long way since then, but my point is try to be a resource, because for something that might be as mundane to you as how to set up a Zoom and maybe share a screen, a document with 300 people in the Zoom room, not everybody's comfortable with doing that.
Yes, no, very much so.
Yeah.
So we're covering some great topics and key information, and our time is slipping away quickly.
Slipping away.
So, being a military guy, I sort of try and keep track of time.
Yeah.
Some people might say that I might not be as good as I could be, but as your own business owner and not having a team, sometimes it's more difficult.
Yeah, I got that.
Right. But, one thing I want to do is share a little bit more about the university, a little bit about the course that Casey is sharing via the university. And, this is one of our early premieres of the university video that will just tell you a little bit more about what it is and how it can be valuable to business owners just like you. Do you own your business, or does it own you? Are you having cash flow issues, or do you need financing? Is your business growing, and are you making enough money? As a business owner, there are so many things you need to know to become more successful. You must continually increase your knowledge, even though it is difficult to find a comprehensive, quality source of information that is readily available. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, the Business Growth Pro and CFO. I empower business owners to maximize the value of their companies by growing revenue, increasing profit, and obtaining financing. I've worked with over 500 business owners one-on-one and have taught thousands of people about business. I'm the author of Running Your Small Business Like a Pro. The more you know, the faster you grow. I created the Small Business Pro University for you and collaborated with other experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who are experts in their respective fields. Whether your challenges are in marketing, finance, operations, or strategy, we've got you covered. Small Business Pro University has self-paced, dynamic, multimedia learning experiences created by more than 20 instructors who are business owners just like you. Some of the courses are even in Spanish, and new ones are being added all the time. Each course is clear, concise, and focused because we respect your busy schedule. Small Business Pro University will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets to creating a successful enterprise to go from working in your business to working on your business.
He's provided me with valuable feedback.
I gotta say, I'm glad I trusted you with your plan because
words that you've said to me, I say them to myself all the time.
And, Andrew breaks it down in a very understandable way.
Become a Masterpreneur Club member. Take advantage of our strategic coaching program, or just simply choose the courses that you need. Please feel free to sample our offerings at www.sbprou.com. Test drive one of our free courses to experience the benefits. We will empower you to thrive and not just survive and make more money in any business environment. That's the Small Business Pro University. Very excited about having launched it and starting to really allow entrepreneurs and provide opportunities for people to be in the Masterpreneur Club. And that's really great opportunity to not only learn from courses, but make connections and access resources that'll help you grow your business. Your course in the university is called How to Overcome Your Fear of Self. You give people a little bit of an idea of what that's all about.
Absolutely. So many of us really don't like sales. And what I do in this course is I help you reframe that thinking, because the truth is you're selling something every single day, whether it is asking someone in your family to do a favor, maybe go to the store for you. Maybe you're negotiating for something. Maybe you are actually convincing someone of something. The point is you already have these skills. So why is it that when we think about it in the context of our business, we get all weird and bent out of shape about it? So I'm inviting you to really reframe it. It's a natural behavior you're already doing. So we talk about that. And we also talk about some of the things we've discussed earlier this evening, which is take the focus off you and make it about them. Do your research in advance so that you have a really good idea of who this prospect is before you even open your mouth. You've got an idea of how you're going to come from service. And then service and value really are key. What's your value that you provide that no other person can do but you? And sometimes the differentiator is you. Sometimes that's it. You can have identical services to other people in the market, but they like you. Maybe you even cost more. They don't care because they like and trust you. So they're going with you. So we talk about that. And I also offer a system of questions, because very often we're like, I know when I first started, I was like, well, I said to my manager, I'm supposed to ask questions? And she said, well, yes. And I was like, well, like what? I mean, I literally had no idea. So I give you a framework in this course as to the types of questions you can ask and why they're important. This goes beyond your open or close-ended questions. This goes beyond that. We go a little bit deeper so that by the time you end your interaction with someone, you've got a really good sense as to what they're all about and how you can help them and really differentiate yourself and knock the ball out of the park.
Okay, great. Well, I think I need that. I may have to get that course again. But very valuable. Appreciate you joining me here on Leadership Live at 8:05, talking small business with Casey Carpenter and talking about something extremely valuable for entrepreneurs and business owners. So thank you for joining me. Any last words you'd like to leave with people?
Yeah, just that, I know that we are in the midst of a lot going on in our nation, and I want to invite you to have a little extra compassion and empathy when you are engaging and interacting with your prospects, with your clients, with your team members. And the way that that can sound is always starting out with and looking them in the eye. And on video, looking someone in the eye means you're looking right at the camera. How are you today? No, I mean, no, really. Is everything going well for you? And is there anything that I can do to help you, even if it's got nothing to do with your work? What can I do to help make your life easier right now? You never know. They may not say, they may say, no, I'm good. But later they may call you and say, remember when you made that offer? It speaks volumes. Everybody's having a little bit of a tough time because of this. So let's put the humanity back into business before we start talking about business.
That's a great point. Definitely, all the things that you said are valuable information, valuable knowledge. We thank people who joined in. We got Carol, we got Timothy, we got Wendy, John Hayes, my father-in-law. Hey,
Oh, awesome. Hello.
and several other people. So this
Nice.
has been really great. Unfortunately, we always have to end the show, but I think this has been a great show. Thanks for joining Leadership Live at 8:05 every Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. on Facebook Live. And as we close out, there's something that is key to remember. And at the end of the day, the more you know, the faster you grow. Thank you and good night.
Good night.